Your land is now my land. I already requested the construction.
What? But that land is…
My surprise was cut short as my mother-in-law Madison, with her shrill voice, interrupted me.
A wife who talks back to her husband is unwanted. All you need to say is understood and keep it at that.
Facing Madison's triumphant expression, I was at a loss for words. That land had already been leased to a corporation, with plans for an apartment building underway. The rent for the land was supposed to be deposited next month. I had made sure to inform Kevin about this.
Madison, about that land. You just need to keep quiet. Understood?
Every time I tried to tell the truth, Madison would shout over me. Finally, my anger erupted. Understood. While looking at my in-laws and husband smiling with satisfaction, I cursed them in my mind. Just wait and see. I can't wait to see you come begging. My name is Grace. I'm a 45-year-old housewife. Using my experience from studying abroad for 2 years during college, I've been a teacher at a German language school for adults and have worked there for 23 years now. Interacting with many students has been very fulfilling. My husband, Kevin, is also 45. He joined as a student at the German language school, which is how we met. Of course, I had no intention of getting involved with a student, so I rejected all the times he asked me out on a date during his enrollment, but Kevin persisted even after leaving the school, and, eventually, I was won over and we started dating. Kevin was very gentlemanly during our dates, and our relationship progressed smoothly. After dating for about 2 years, I accepted his proposal, and we got married when I was around 30. However, as soon as we got married, Kevin's attitude changed 180 degrees, as if to show he didn't value what he had obtained, turning into a classic henpecked husband. At first, we fought often, but I didn't have the energy or willpower to argue every day, so I mostly gave in, and that became the norm. Kevin has a younger sister, Mia, 5 years his junior, who seemed to keep her distance from the family home. My first impression during our greeting was that she was a straightforward woman, but according to Kevin, she was a stubborn and spoiled person for a woman. Thus, my interactions with Mia were minimal, and even after several years of marriage, we only saw each other possibly during Christmas. 10 years into our marriage, at the age of 40, Kevin and I still hadn't had children. I had gone through examinations at a gynecologist at the in-laws' insistence, but there was nothing wrong with me. However, as soon as I reported this, Kevin became furious.
Are you trying to say it's my fault?
No, that's not what I mean. I tried to clarify, but Kevin wouldn't listen and threw the remote control against the wall beside me.
Don't you get cocky with me. I'm never going to the doctors. It's obviously your fault. Change the clinic. Don't ever go back there again. Got it?
Kevin then stormed out of the house, taking only his wallet and mobile phone. I picked up the broken remote, tears streaming down my face. This wasn't the marriage I had dreamed of, but still, I chose not to divorce, perhaps because of the fond memories I had with the kind Kevin. Eventually, at 43, the in-laws said that having a child at my age would look bad, and I gave up on the idea of having children. Even when I told Kevin, he didn't seem to care, making me realize I was the only one bothered by it. Kevin and I live about a 5-minute walk from the in-laws' house, and they visit our home about 3 times a week. Honestly, I'm not fond of the in-laws. My mother-in-law Madison constantly makes backhanded comments, and father-in-law John always talks about my appearance and our sex life. Like someone important once said, as you get older, your eggs deteriorate or something. I'm not saying Grace's eggs have deteriorated. But after 40, well, if anything happens, it would be a problem for us too, right? It's fine, isn't it? Even if they have deteriorated, Grace's body has something appealing about it, so Kevin, you still enjoy it, right? Oh, stop it, John. No one would feel good being around such vulgar conversations. I served coffee in silence, hoping the in-laws would leave soon. Look, I had Kevin when I was 20 and Mia at 25.
Oh, not that being young is everything, but recovery after childbirth is definitely quicker when you're younger, right?
You do look very young.
No way. I mean, compared to the moms of Kevin's classmates, I might be on the younger side.
I forced a smile at Madison, who seemed utterly pleased with herself for just being mentioned. Madison took pride in having had Kevin young and liked to make a point of being younger than others around her. And if someone didn't agree or play along, she'd treat them coldly, as if they were in the wrong. So, every time we met, I had to play along with Madison's reckless self-promotion. Honestly, Madison's appearance isn't that great. She's of average height and build, with natural curly hair, just a typical grandmother you'd find anywhere. She looks older than she is, and if someone guessed she was 70, it would be believable. Yet, she seems unaware, genuinely believing she's a hidden gem, almost a witch of beauty.
Well, it's sad we won't see cute grandchildren, but it's better than having useless ones added. Yeah, if we don't have kids, they'd probably take care of us instead.
The living room, filled with crude words, felt incredibly uncomfortable despite being my own home. And the in-laws would leave after saying whatever they wanted to say, feeling satisfied. Then one day, I got a call from Dad. It was about my paternal grandfather's passing and that I was included in the will. Dad's family was considered one of the notable families in the area. As the youngest with 5 older siblings, Dad didn't inherit much and lived doing what he wanted. So, our family wasn't particularly wealthy. However, being the only grandchild, my grandfather left me a piece of land. The inheritance included the land and some cash for expenses related to inheriting it. Even after paying inheritance tax, the amount was more than enough to live comfortably, making me wonder if it was all a dream. But the land was too large to build a house on, and I wasn't confident about using it wisely. Dad suggested renting it out to a company interested in building an apartment. Just the land rent would allow me to live freely without worrying about management. Since it wasn't expected to be inherited and no one in the family was particularly attached to it, the decision to lease it out was made quickly. I informed Kevin about this. He seemed to have started to think about something, but only replied one word. Understood. And then went back to reading his book alone. I thought that was the end of the discussion, but it turned out Kevin had his own plans, which came to light unexpectedly one day. It happened during a weekend, with the in-laws over at our house as usual. Ignoring me cleaning up the kitchen alone, Kevin suddenly spoke up while snacking on the coffee and cookies I had served. Your land is now my land. I already requested the construction.
What? But that land is…
My surprise was cut off by Madison's shrill voice interrupting.
A wife who talks back to her husband is unwanted. All you need to say is understood and keep it at that.
I didn't know what to say to Madison, looking victorious. That land was already leased to a corporation, with plans for an apartment building underway. The rent for the land was supposed to be deposited next month. I had made sure to inform Kevin about this.
Madison, about that land.
You just need to keep quiet. Understood? Every time I tried to tell the truth, Madison would shout over me. Finally, my anger erupted. Understood. While looking at my in-laws and my husband smiling with satisfaction, I cursed them in my mind. Just wait and see. I can't wait to see you come begging. I decided to do something I had been hesitating about for a long time. Renew my long-expired passport and get in touch with a friend living abroad. My friend was surprised when I told them about my plan, but they agreed to help. It was a bit tough to carefully proceed with the plan before Kevin found out about the land, but thinking about my bright future made it enjoyable. Just when everything was ready, Kevin received a call from the construction company about the land. One day, when he came back from work, he stood at the entrance, furious.
You tricked me.
With that one sentence, I knew exactly what he was talking about. Trying hard to keep my face from showing anything, I answered Kevin. What are you talking about? He seemed to really dislike my response. Shaking with anger, Kevin glared at me.
It's about that land. I got a call from the construction company. They can't take our request because there's another building plan in motion.
Is that so? I thought I told you.
What? A wife is supposed to follow what her husband decides, right? Stop the apartment building project immediately. You said understood, didn't you?
His selfish reasoning left me with nothing but a sigh, tired from work. Kevin, grabbing my collar and threatening me. Didn't scare me at all since everything was already prepared.
There's nothing I can do. That place has already been leased out to a company. What?
I told you, didn't I?
The land is in my name, but the construction on it is under the company's name. It's a leasehold. I receive the land rent and don't get involved with the building. I explained this, but you didn't understand, did you?
Kevin, failing to comprehend, let go of me and looked stunned. Facing him directly, I continued.
So, let's get a divorce. What? Why would it come to that? Are you serious?
Kevin finally seemed to realize I was quietly furious and started to panic. Seeing his pitiful state, I entered the house and moved to the living room. Kevin, following me and trying to gauge my mood, seemed smaller despite being bigger than me.
Grace, I'll respect your plan this time, so please reconsider the divorce.
Even now, Kevin's condescending tone made me look at him with contempt. He was completely intimidated by my gaze.
Why should I need your respect for decisions about the land I inherited? What? Well, you seem to be misunderstanding something. That land is mine. I'm the one inherited the land. You have no right to dictate anything about it.
Kevin was quiet for a while as he listened to me, but as soon as he heard he had no rights, he lashed out.
Disrespecting your husband like that, who do you think is providing for you? Oh, since we split all living and housing expenses equally, I'm living on my own money. What? Did you not realize that?
You really weren't interested, were you? I pulled out the household ledger and opened it to this month's page. Kevin contributed $1,000, and I also added $1,000, making $2,000 for living expenses. Plus, I pay the rent for our apartment and utilities from my account. Which means while saying it's a split, I'm paying more.
As you can see, I can live on my own, and being with you just means I'm paying unnecessary money. That's a lie. But you've been using more than $2,000 for your allowance while only contributing $1,000 to the house since we got married. That's because Mom said that was enough. There it is, always Mom, Mom. So annoying, you mama's boy. Mama's boy.
Kevin, taken aback by my words, looked incredulous. To anyone looking in, Kevin, who always discusses everything with his mom and expects her support as a matter of course, is a perfect example of a mama's boy. Yet, he seemed to have no self-awareness of this fact.
Anyway, if you're going to continue living there, you'll need to start paying for it yourself. I've already changed the withdrawal account, so as of today, I'm leaving this place and won't pay anything. What do you mean you're leaving?
Ignoring Kevin's words, I took the suitcase I had prepared earlier out of the closet and headed for the entrance. In fact, I had already moved out my belongings. I had been moving them out little by little without being noticed, and Kevin hadn't realized it at all. It was a bit sad to think he was that uninterested in me, but honestly, it worked out for the best. Kevin followed me to the entrance, watching me leave the house in a panic. In front of him, I took off my wedding ring and placed it on the shoe cabinet.
Are you really leaving? You'll regret this. I'd regret more staying with you. What about my meals? Are you serious? Make them yourself.
I was utterly astounded that Kevin was worried about his meals at a time like this. He looked utterly natural, expecting me to cater to him, but when I firmly responded, he was in shock and froze. Not wanting to look at Kevin's face even for a second longer, I left the house I had lived in for 15 years. I was busy with preparations for the next few days, running around for procedures and whatnot. Then I received a call from Madison. Reluctantly answering, I heard her shrill voice through the phone.
What's this about the land being used for an apartment building? And divorcing Kevin after enduring 15 years when you could have left after 3 years without children, how ungrateful can you be?
Madison, the apartment was already decided. The divorce from Kevin is due to a lack of trust, and the reason we didn't have children is that Kevin didn't cooperate with fertility treatments. That boy is healthy. Funny, so am I. Madison screamed in frustration over the phone, and I found her cartoonish yelling somewhat amusing.
Anyway, I'll be seeking compensation from you for deceiving us and for making Kevin sad. Make sure you pay for what you've done. Enough with the Kevin. I'm giving Kevin back to you, so please enjoy each other's company forever. And the compensation should come from Kevin. I'll have my lawyer contact you, so don't run away, please pass that message. You're the wife, how dare you talk like that?
Madison kept screaming, but I hung up without caring. I was amazed at how much I could say once I had let go, and it felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. A month after leaving the house, it was finally time to discuss the divorce. The lawyer said the basic conditions were set, but Kevin wouldn't sign the divorce papers until he saw me. Reluctantly, we arranged to meet at a restaurant for the discussion. The in-laws stubbornly suggested their house, but I insisted on a private room in a restaurant. Meeting the in-laws and Kevin, their unnaturally cheerful faces made me suspect they were plotting something.
Grace, it's been a while. Have you been well? Yes, thanks to you.
As I responded, Madison approached with a sweet voice.
Grace, I'm sorry for everything. Let's talk about the future today.
That sounds good. I had a hunch about what the in-laws and Kevin were planning. Probably something like divorcing in exchange for a portion of the land rent. As expected, Madison mentioned the inheritance as soon as we sat down.
Do you know the land value of that place?
I'm aware.
I was shocked. And you're also receiving a proper amount of money, right? We need to properly distribute the property.
Madison's shallow words made me laugh out loud. Madison, initially stunned by my laughter, quickly turned red and glared at me.
What's so funny? Madison, it seems you don't know. The inheritance I received doesn't become marital property. What?
Madison let out a strange noise and widened her eyes. It seems she was blinded by the amount of money and didn't bother to check such basic things.
So, we don't get anything?
That's right. After my words, Madison let out a silent scream and slumped in defeat. From her outfit, it was clear she had planned to live lavishly off my inheritance. The fact that I could hear them worrying about payments was proof enough.
Aren't you going to support your husband's home as his wife?
John, who had been silent until now, spoke up, and I gave him a cold look. Then, without a word, I pressed a button on my mobile phone. John's crude remarks started playing back.
John who says such things, Madison who goes along with it without stopping him, and a husband who turns a blind eye to it all. I don't need any of you. I will live my life. Do you think you can just do as you please?
If necessary, we can take this to court. This will be submitted as evidence.
If you do that, my reputation will. Well, it will be socially troublesome for you.
John was left speechless, slumping just like Madison. With the noisy bystanders finally quiet, I turned to Kevin. Kevin, pale-faced, seemed to have an idea. I'll help manage the money since it'll be tough on you alone. You can do whatever you like with it. How about that?
Why would I have to involve you in anything after the divorce? I already have someone to discuss the inheritance with.
Come in. As I called out, a woman entered. Kevin looked at her in surprise.
It's been a while, big brother.
It turned out that Mia had connections with my overseas friend while I was planning things. My friend told me the in-laws favored Kevin, treating Mia harshly. Kevin accepted this treatment without protest, benefiting from the situation and even blaming Mia for his own actions. Kevin went to private schools, while Mia was only allowed to go to a public high school and received no financial help for college. Mia worked through college, becoming a freelance writer after graduation. Just as her career was taking off, the in-laws started asking for financial support, coinciding with my marriage to Kevin, which surprised me. Since then, Mia and I have been in touch. And now we have become close friends. Mia and I have hit it off, and she'll be helping me with the German language school I'm planning to start abroad. Abroad? What can you do overseas? Have you forgotten my job? I studied abroad for 2 years and speak German daily at work. I've always planned to go abroad if it weren't for our marriage.
What about me? I don't speak German.
Do you understand what divorce means? It means I'm stopping living life with you. Oh. Kevin finally grasped the situation, his face turning pale. I took the filled-out divorce papers from Kevin, who was now silent, and left the restaurant with Mia and my lawyer. I submitted the divorce papers to the office and moved abroad. My belongings were already at the new home, so I could start my new life without any issues. I'm room sharing with Mia, respecting each other's work. Mia is becoming a successful writer, working towards her dream of being a novelist. Seeing her work so hard on writing stories in her spare time from work, I feel like I need to try my best as well. Kevin stayed in our old apartment for a while but had to leave due to lack of savings and the alimony payments. Back at the in-laws' house, he's consumed by their demands, left with no money and exhausted from taking over the chores Madison abandoned. The in-laws also might soon lose their home too without Mia's support. Drop dead. Mia simply said so, upon their pleas for help. As for me, I've opened my dream German language school, which is thriving. My students are enthusiastic, filled with hope for their future in Germany. Today, we'll learn about greetings. I stand at the podium with a smile, loving this confident version of myself, filled with hope for the future.